Welcome back inside Lighthouse. Today we're going to be going over the things that you need to know before we show up to spray foam a job at your residence, commercial structure, or industrial building. There are 6 things that you absolutely have to make sure that are done before our arrival. Lots of times we show up on projects and one of these 6 things are not done, and it ends up resulting in a return visit, which is both expensive for us and super inconvenient for our client. So we're going to make this video so that you know, even if you're not one of our clients, what you need to do before you have spray foam applied in your home. These are the things that you need to know before Lighthouse installation shows up at your project. First, there's a 24-hour reoccupancy following the application of spray foam insulation. This is a non-negotiable. There is a cure time on the material. It's 24 hours. It's a polyurethane. And what we're guarding against is an allergic reaction to the polyurethane. Animals, occupants, tradespeople have a 24-hour reoccupancy. It's very important that everybody's out of that house for an entire day following the final trigger pull on our machine. Second, we need adequate parking for our trailer. We have a 16-foot trailer, and it's typically pulled by a full pickup truck, an 8-foot bed pickup truck. In the city of Chicago, this gets very difficult to find parking, and it takes some logistical planning prior to our arrival to make sure that we have the parking we need. Typically in the city, we have individuals park 2 of their vehicles in the spots in front of their home so that we can at the very least drop the trailer in front of the house and then find a different spot for the pickup truck. Parking in an alleyway is typically not a great option because we tend to block other driveways, other garages. In the suburbs, it's a little bit easier. We're typically able to park in a driveway, or we're able to park in front of the house without much issue. But this is something certainly that we need to plan for prior to our arrival. Third, we need access to the breaker box. We have a generator that we can utilize if it's absolutely necessary, but 98% of our jobs are performed using what's called shore power, which is from our machine. We run a really heavy gauge electrical cord to the breaker box where we have a whip that we plug into the breaker box. That whip is our breaker that we provided, and it attaches to the heavy duty cord that we have ran from our trailer to the inside of the house. We need 220 volt at a 50 amp breaker, and typically most homes do not have that ready to go for us when we get there. So that's something to consider prior to our arrival. We also need to make sure that the space that we're about to spray in is clear of any construction material, furniture, and in most attics that we spray in, valuable family heirlooms. You'd be surprised how many times we show up on a site and there are really expensive, valuable, irreplaceable items that we're spraying around. We can always prep them, but in order to avoid any catastrophic losses or really difficult to replace items, it's really important to get those out of the space. Temperature is another important piece to keep in mind. During the wintertime, our material has a minimum temperature that it needs to be applied to. So the ambient temperature, the temperature around the space, really doesn't dictate whether or not we can or cannot spray. What we're looking at is the substrate, the material that we're going to be spraying onto, and that needs to be a minimum of 50 degrees. So in the wintertime, 48 hours beforehand, we need to be really cranking that space full of heat in order to make sure that that substrate has adequate time to both heat up properly and also without sweating. If we heat the space up too quick, we can create condensation, and water is the only thing that foam does really poorly with upon application. After it's cured, especially closed cell foam is really great with water, but if we do not make sure that there's no condensation on the wall, we can have some issues with the application. Finally, we need a signed proposal prior to our arrival. So let's recap what you need to know before we arrive. First, we need to make sure that there is a 24-hour reoccupancy of the space planned. Second, we need adequate parking for our trailer. Third, we need access to the breaker box to make sure that we can plug in our machine. Fourth, we need the space clear of any construction materials or expensive furniture or family heirlooms. Fifth, we need to pay really close attention to the temperature of the space. We need at least 50 degrees on the substrate, and the substrate is the material that we're going to be spraying onto. Finally, we need a signed proposal. These tips go for any spray foam project around the country. The temperature may be the only thing that in some areas of the country isn't applicable, but these are standards and these are things that you can depend upon to make sure that your project gets done properly. Thank you.